And I'm Michael Linquist. Here's what we know so far. This morning, a man went into a Huntsville business and told the staff his wife had been shot.
KOMU 8's Michael Linquist is live at MU to tell us what groups on both sides have to say.
That's right. Thank you, Brittany. And as you can see behind me, there are protests going on right now. And this comes just after Chancellor released his decision earlier this afternoon to not reinstate the refer and follow privileges for the Planned Parenthood doctor in Columbia. As a result of this decision, abortions will no longer be allowed at the Columbia Planned Parenthood facility, leaving St. Louis Planned Parenthood as the only abortion provider in the state. Now, Seville suggested one method crews could try to use to get rid of the rust on the smokestack. And the first one is to simply clean it off the surface of the smokestack. But she said it's unclear how bad the rust is until crews actually get up there. The second one she suggested was to simply paint over it and recover the surface. Kids in Columbia today had the chance to talk to Santa Claus all the way up in the North Pole using the Santa hotline.
Ho, 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 North Pole.
The city of Columbia managed to get the phone numbers of Santa, Mrs. Claus, and the elves in the North Pole. Kids were able to tell him what they wanted for Christmas and how excited they are for December 25th. Earlier today, 2 young girls made their wishes as they were out shopping.
Ho, 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 this is the North Pole.
I want a Lego set for Christmas.
A what?
A Lego set.
A Lego set? Well, have you been good this year?
Yeah.
Santa told the girls to stay on the nice list and he would try to make it a very nice Christmas for them this year. Now, Davidson said a person is well within their rights to walk up to any public area, record a video or snap a picture, and post it online, even if there are requests made for no media. And Davidson said this right is called the standing in doctrine. 2 people are hurt, including a police officer, following a standoff and shooting in Wisconsin earlier today. Investigators say a gunman walked into a motorcycle repair shop, fired a weapon, and took hostages. A total solar eclipse is projected to take place on August 21st, 2017, and it has Columbia right in the middle of the optimal viewing area, represented by this red line. Now, in this video provided to us by the GreatAmericanEclipse.com, you can see the path of the total solar eclipse goes right over Columbia, starting right at about 1:12 p.m., and then it continues right on past St. Louis. The foundation formula saw an almost $500 million gap in funding in 2015, and that's not anything new. I looked into what Missouri's Constitution says about funding the state education system, and I dug through court cases to see if the Missouri Supreme Court thinks students are constitutionally promised the right to an equitable education.
We have fulfilled our constitutional obligation to support education in the state.
I think it could be challenged.
In Missouri, public K-12 schools are funded through what's known as the foundation formula, a mechanism of funding which is required by the Constitution. The formula dictates how much each school district should receive in funding per student. And according to Article 3, Section 36 of the Constitution, funding education should be the second priority under paying off state debt. Article 9, Section 3b states at least 25% of the state's revenue must be used to fund the education system.
Our funding is nothing to crow about now.
The Republican side says Missouri is funding education in the 30 to 35% range.
It is one issue that definitely affects everybody, and so I do think that we strive to meet that obligation.
But the Democratic side says it's closer to 23%, under the constitutionally required percentage.
Yes, I think we are not meeting our constitutional obligation, and we need to be addressing that issue.
When the bill establishing the foundation formula was passed in 2005, it was phased in through 2010. Since then, the foundation formula has demanded more money from the state, and the state has funded it less and less through 2014. An MU law professor says in a statement, in part, quote, "According to one detailed report, the state of Missouri pays a lower percentage of the total cost of educating its students than any other state except Illinois. We are 49th.
When we look closely at the formula, you see that it only provided, I think, $2 or $3 million in the first year. The promise was that eventually we'll add $800 million.
The state has been sued over the foundation formula before. This 2004 court case, first ruled on by a Missouri trial court, then upheld by the Missouri State Supreme Court, says that education is not a fundamental right under the Missouri Constitution, and that the state is not obligated to provide each student with an equitable education, as long as the state fulfills its 25% requirement.
In 1865, our education provision said that there will be equitable funding for school children in Missouri. In 1875, that was taken out.
He says the provision that was taken out, along with other provisions that required African Americans to attend different schools, made the 1875 Constitution known as the Jim Crow Constitution.
It seems ironic to take a provision which was part of a package that today would be viewed as unconstitutionally racist in its intentions, and use that intention as a basis for saying there's no obligation to provide equal funding to all children in Missouri in 2016.
The legislature passed a budget allocating an extra $71 million over last year to the foundation formula beginning in July. But there are still differing opinions on how your child's education is funded.
There is no way to fully fund education. Now, there is a way to fully fund the foundation formula. That's two different things. But with education, there's always going to be another program, something else we can do to help the children. It's a never-ending thing.
Don't move the goalpost and say that we're doing what, fully funding when we clearly are not.
You can find out how big of a funding gap Columbia Public Schools had on our website, as well as what suggestions lawmakers have for funding the foundation formula appropriately, along with full-length interviews with Democratic and Republican lawmakers, only on KOMU.com. And here's what's happening right now. The Roots and Blues and Barbecue Festival is holding a live artist announcement at Kia of Columbia. Missouri lawmakers approved initial passage for a bill that would allow some medical marijuana. KOMUH Chris Brown shows us the reactions he got from the Capitol. And authorities in Houston say at least 8 people have died in that city's massive flooding. At least 5 of those deaths happened when fast-moving water overtook cars. Thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes, and major highways were closed. Another flash flood watch was issued for Houston through tonight. Governor Jay Nixon proposed a $76 million increase in state education funding, but was cut back to only $16 million. And once the state distributes it to Missouri's 534 school districts, CPS would only get $31,000. Well, we started with some rain today, but ended up being pretty nice outside. Let's go ahead and send it over to Kenton with the rain totals. And this week is National Infant Immunization Week, and the Columbia Health Department is promoting vaccinations for kids even more than usual. The department took to Twitter and Facebook to share resources about child immunizations. I spent the day following a MoDOT road crew down Stadium Boulevard as they filled potholes scattered across the road. And it's all a part of an enhanced pothole repair initiative costing the state millions. Shovels, asphalt, and manpower are required to fill a pothole. MoDOT crews began a month-long effort Tuesday to fill potholes polluting Missouri roads. One MoDOT supervisor says the early onset of spring helps crews get out a little early.
To get out and start getting a lot of the major areas taken care of in town, such as Providence and Stadium, trying to get ahead of those and get those holes fixed.
He says a new kind of asphalt will hopefully make the potholes disappear for a while.
They'll use the hot mix and what we use to call as a cold mix. It's a kind of a pliable material that stays. It can get down in temperatures of 32 degrees and it still stays pliable.
Even though it's been a mild winter in mid-Missouri, potholes are still a problem.
The warmer weather makes for less, but it's the rain and the moisture that actually creates more potholes. Due to the pavement and things like that expanding and contracting, that creates a pothole.
But one Columbia resident says he thinks the $15 million cost is a big hole in the budget.
In those potholes, that's an awful small category, that much money.
A majority of the $15 million is spent during the month of March alone, and Jim and Brittany crews will work from about 7:30 in the morning until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon during the week throughout March. This is how your utility bill looks now with terms like CCF and KWH, and there's really not that much explanation for what you're paying for, and that's about to change. This is what the new bills will look like. They were expected sometime this spring, but will likely arrive sometime in June. The city will send letters out to customers beforehand to explain the changes and terms on the bill. We've got a full night of high school basketball action coming your way. That's next in sports. Right now, if you were to walk along Forum Boulevard, only a couple of feet separate you from oncoming traffic. You can see the cars whizzing by me here. This pedestrian crossway will provide a safe way for pedestrians across Hinkson Creek. And now here's a look at what we're following for KOMU 8 News at 10. We'll have the latest on the controversial Religious Liberties Bill vote in Jefferson City.
Plus, Boone County is welcoming its first solar farm, what it will be used for. Join us at 10.
KOMU 8's Michael Lindquist is live in Columbia with more about this new resource for students in need.
I'm standing right in front of where the Early Childhood Learning Center will be, just in front of Lang Middle School in the northern part of Columbia, and where just a few minutes ago a groundbreaking ceremony for the new center wrapped up. Now, one spokesman for Columbia Public Schools told me it's mainly for kids who require additional resources to learn. Now here's a look at what's coming up tonight at 10. Leaders from around the world gathered in Paris to talk climate change. Now a message from space is urging them to work together. Now the maximum sentence he could have gotten was 30 years, which is what the state prosecutors were pushing for. The minimum was 10. Again, the judge ultimately deciding to hand down a 15-year sentence for Brian Atkinson. Sydney, thank you, and thank you for watching.
That's our time. Have a good night.